Hello everyone. So today we are going to extend our previous application and insert very useful component to our classes what we study last time. That's called the classes array. So as you can see here, our application became a little bit more complex, but the main shape and the main logic remain same. So what is here? Again, we do have application which must insert data about the student's name, family name, identification code, class activities, calculate the average. But compared to the previous case, so here we do have a combo box. So what we studied before. So, and as you can see here, originally it is not selected anything. So, but we do have our three students, information about three students, what is already inserted. So, and right here, there is information about the students, which is not displayed yet. So once information will be inserted to our application, so we can see it here in this particular text area. So how does it work? So here, once I click the student one, so John Rem, so his identification code, but activities is not given. Remember in our previous application, so the activity we must insert. So, but we also must insert the student's name, family name, and identification code. Assume that this information is given as default. This is the most realistic scenario, where some like very brief data will be given. So, but some extra data we will have to insert. So, and here is that kind of improvement in terms of our application. Okay, so here I will insert activity. So click add modify button. So in right here we can see information about our first students, his class activities and average. So technically that information is coming from the class what we are creating. So right here we can see the first student, information about the first student is given. So now if I will go to the second student, so now we can see information about the second student is not inserted yet into our application. Same for the third student. Okay, so if we will come back to the student one, so the information, calculated information and inserted information can be displayed in the screen. Okay, now let's add some other data. So for second student, so now we can see the second student appear here as well. So for the third student, okay, so right here we can see that all students are inserted, information about all students are inserted. So in here now we can change from students to student, and that information will be mimicked in our necessary text field. Okay, and same as before, so here I can modify. So the data, see here for the student John, number one, so here, so his activity was 10, so now I want to change to 50. So click add modify button and the information about his class activity and average will be updated. So, and so on. So for the all other students, we can change it as well. So this is the brief explanation about what exactly will we have to do today. So, and let's begin. So what we need to do is to make a new app. So let's call it classes array video. So classes array video. Okay, so I will not use the default folder, I will use the folder classes all app. Okay, so here make a package and make Windows app. So here I will call it my class average. Add my name. And student ID. So again, don't forget to add that information when you're creating your application. So, and here we need a class. So let's call it student. So that class technically will be the same what we used before in our previous application. Okay, so what do we need to do next? So as long as our application is pretty much similar to what we discussed before, so better to just copy. Let's make it from the beginning. So this is our application. So we must create that app here. Okay, so what I can recommend you to do, yeah, let's import our previous application. So here, introduction video. See, inside, like we do have a, this is our introduction, classes introduction. So inside, we do have all of those components given. So I will just copy all of them. Just in order to save time. Okay, so come. Here, this is our new app. It's initialization. See here, I copy everything from the initialization function. So add everything here. Okay. So here, so the frame is different. Okay. What we can do, change to the frame. So we do have a lot of components in our video. Okay, so here better to copy this one as well. So now that all objects, what is created in our application has the different frame name. So that's why I need to change it everywhere. So okay, that one will fix. Okay, and the source code, what we have inside I will delete all the source code. From button add, so all the other data, so we will add. See, in our application, so here there is no the radio button, so that's why I can delete them. So this is the point. See, as long as that part is same with our previous application, so the better to use our previous application. So and like just move the data. So the log is here. So and all of that data we must move. I'll move it here. Okay, move it here, and we do have combo box here, and text area. So here it is the new label that's called the student. See here the student's information. Students information. Students information. Okay, so here, so this is not production, so this is classes early video. Okay, so yeah, and maybe better to move it here, and this one make it small. Okay, now run. So this is our application. So maybe we need to make it a little bit bigger. Okay, just highlight all of our text widgets and move it here. Okay, I think we need to have a little bit bigger. Okay, so assume that it is correct. So later, if the size will not be satisfied, we can change. I think that should be enough to display that particular data. Okay, so what can we do next? So come back to our source. So and here we can see like where is the button add. So and inside is nothing, and as long as we delete our So radio button, so here there is nothing inserted. Okay, so what will be the important part here? So technically my class student, so this is our class student, will be exactly the same. So that's why I can just copy that particular class here. So save. So that should be enough, like in order to handle our application. Okay, so still the few things will have to be inserted. See, in our application, so here when, okay, let's run from the beginning. So this is our reference. So see here when I click, so I start seeing the information about my students. So what does it mean? It means that this information about the students as default uh, is available in my application. So actually here I already made those particular string files. So we did it before, so that's why I think there will be no big issue if I will just copy them from here and insert it into our new application. So where is the student ID? So where I will see the student's name, them number, like John Rem, number 1, Kate Kim, number 2, Bob May, number 3, names, like John, Rem, Kate Kim, Bob May, and identification number. So that information is given as default in our app. So why do I need it? Because I don't want to insert that data. So that should be some kind of common data for the all students, so which is always keep the same, so I don't need to insert that particular data. So that's why better to implement such kind of functionality where that common data will be always available in our application. So that's why like we can see and process that data without any problem. So and for the like class activity, as long as this is variables, so those data will have to be inserted in the different manner. So this is the point. So and okay, so the student ID I will need to insert into my oops. That's wrong. Okay, so that should not be here. So this is the introduction here. Better to delete. Okay, so this is my class array. Yeah, this is the file. Okay, see here we keep seeing the radio button. Better to remove. Okay, and again, just copy this data, place it here. So in your case, you will just need to create that particular 4-string values in your application. Okay, now in this app, I will just delete everything. So let's keep on this file here. So later, if we will need it, I can add. Okay, see, this is our combo box. So the combo box here, oh, okay, and maybe better to come back here and name our areas properly. So this is the combo box. Let's call it combo box students. So this is the text area. let's call it like display information, display information, display info. So display info, this is the combo box student. Okay, now going back to our source code. Okay, this is our combo box student. So, and in order to see that particular data, so here I supposed to place student's ID. So this is the string which contains my items. So here, if I will come back, place it here. So now we start seeing okay, one more problem. So actually, as long as we just copy our data, see here information about the John, so that was given as default. So that's why better to delete it, because that data we are going to insert using a different way, using the strings what we have in our application. Okay, so now I will run. So this is our application. So here we can see students 1, students 2, students 3. So, and here there is no any information because we didn't code it yet. So that's what we will do next. So, okay, here. So in the reference applications, if I run it, see here, it is empty. So we did it before in order to process that particular step. So in our source file, in the design for the combo box, selected item must be -1. So if it is -1, so will be no the selected item in our application. So, and now that is became saved. So and one by one, so here we can add the item. But in the beginning, so will be no selected item. Okay, so the next what we will need to do, let's change that number. See here when I change the student, so that ID is changing as well. So and we also need to insert the data about John Ram, about all of our students. So what to do? How to process that particular part? So technically we already did. So we must add listener component into our combo box student. So here we can open our previous application related to the combo box, just to see how does it work. So we do have a combo box. So this is our combo box. So this is our combo student. So and that was the way how did we process our like displaying part. Just for instance, let's run it. So this is the application what we had, like students 1, students 2, students 3. So see, that's exactly what we want. So we already did it. So that's why we don't need to code it like separately. So, but this is the source code what we need to process. Okay, so coming back to our application, so here, so the first what I need to do is to get like selected item. So in order to get the selected item, we use our combo box students dot get selected index. So get selected index. So in case of the selected item, so we are going to use it many times in our application. So that's why I will recommend you like to add an extra variable, so integer selected item. So and later we can use it. So remember, if we will place something in the header, so that automatically will be the global variable. Okay. So and now let's display the data. So the first I will need to display information about my that index. So the index is students number field. Copy that. Come here. So set text. So in here string the value of integer. So selected item plus 1. So because remember the selected item will be 0, so but I want to see 1. Okay, so after that name field, so that is the name of that widget. So set text. So and here I supposed to set what. So we do have a string array student's name with all of my student's name. Okay, so that's why I can place that array here and use the selected item. Okay, so where is the same for the family? So family name field. So here that should be students family name. So that will be our second part. So and the third part is that what I do remember. So here, this is the identification code. So identification code field. Copy that, come here. So identification code field, set text. So and here must be this like student identification code. Copy this part. Come here, students identification code. Selected item. Done. So and now if I will run my app, so here if I will select different students, now I can see my data. So this is the main point. Okay, so now what exactly do I need to process when I enter the class activities and the click button modify? See, today's topic is about the classes array. What is the difference in between classes what we discussed before and so what we are going to discuss now? See, in that particular application, I know that will be the 3 students. So maybe will be more students. So if the number of students is not fixed, that will be another issue, what we will discuss later. But here I know exactly will be 3 students, will be no more students. So that's why it is useless to just use that particular part and create like 3 students, students 1, 2, and 3. Because for that I will need to some kind of the separate procedure for all of them. So instead I can do something like this. So student, this is our class title. So here I'm supposed to make an object of that class. And let's say I am going to create that subject, that object as the student's array. So, but as long as this is array, I can use that particular bracket. So, in fact, we already used that strategy. Remember when we designed the radio buttons group? So we also create such kind of we use such kind of coding. So here student 3. Okay, see this particular part is legal. So here, so in the students array, like with the position 0, so that is the same as my student 1, and the student 1 is John Rem. Okay, so here student 2 so second student will have index 1. So here the students 2, and this is our Kate Kim. And where is one more student? Student 3 with the index 2. So this is our student 3, Bob May. Okay, so this is the idea behind of using classes array. So where we can create as many objects as we need by unifying them using the same name. See, that's students array now will contains information about all of my students. Students 1, students 2, students 3, that will be the one like unified structure. And by calling the different indexes here, I can get necessary information about my students 1, 2, and 3. So here, just remember that particular index will link to a different student. So for sure, like we did not create it yet in our application, so that's what we will need to do by clicking the button like add modify, same as we did here. Okay. Students array. Copy that. So here is our button add. So now how can I add information into my students array? So the first of all, I will need to make so the object of that particular student. Okay, see now when I change item here, so we are modifying like access to our students. That's exactly what I want. So that's why here I also need the selected item. So what we created here. So and technically I will need to do the same. So that will be the combo box. Students. Okay, and that doesn't work. Why? Because see the combo box appear next to the button add. Okay, so what to do? Just copy this path, delete this J combo box. So let's make that variable global. So here in the header, private, and paste it back. J combo box students. So right here we will identify that object as the global. So and means that right here, so if I will click dot, so here will be, see here all of those stuff related to the combo box, necessary functions, they are given. Okay, so here selected item, so equal new. So here will be the new student. Okay, and inside, see, remember when I'm creating the new item in our class, so let's come back here. So this is our previous, like my class. So this is our previous application. So from the in like class introduction. So see here, students 1, 2, 3, and that was, sorry, yeah. So here that was the way how to create a new student. See, student 1, new student, and here I supposed to add this data. So as long as I did not change the class, so that particular data will have to be same. So just copy that path, come back to our my class array, and place it here. So now I need to know what is the student's ID, student's name, family name, identification code, activities. So all of those data must be given. So before we are creating our new student. So again, as long as we did it before, I don't really think we need to do it again. So I will just copy this part. See here what is happening. So we are reading and data from our text field, name, family name, identification code, class activities. Okay, create the activity array, and here place those particular activities inside of that array. So and again we are checking whenever I can create the new object of the class student or not. So by checking the length of our widgets. So here if will be no text, so our code will ignore it. Okay, coming back here and just place that data here. Control I and close the bracket. Okay, so here okay, so here the student ID, instead of student ID, here I'm supposed to use the selected item. So remember in our previous code, the student's ID, so that student's ID was like 0, 1, and 2. So technically this particular number. So in our code now, so that will be our selected item. So done. So now we can create that particular object right here. So as long as we process that calculation, so I can also display the average right here. So how can I do that? Students array. So in the position selected item. Okay, dot. See now it is accessible. Average activity. So and I supposed to display that particular number where? So here, so which is my average activity field. Copy this part, come here. So Control V, dot, set text. Okay. Yeah, see, the set text doesn't work because this average activity is float. Here, the float. So, and it can display only the string. So let's write the string here, value of float, and display that number here. So we are doing that just in order to check whenever it is working or not. So if I run now, so now I supposed to be able to insert data for my first students. For example, like here 10, 20, 30, and modify, and now we can see that particular data. So it means that we can create the object of the class student. So, but compared to the previous case, that will be the array. That's called the students array. So in here, we can insert that particular data. So here, if I will do the same, like 10, 20, 30, add. So what else is must be processed in our source code? The first, I supposed to display that particular data in the screen. Let's display the data. So here we can add one more item. So that item was not exist in our previous application. So here will be display student information in the text area. We call it display information. Display info. So come here. So this is our display info item. So copy this one, come here. Actually, the problem here, so if, so will be many items inside. For example, here, if I will come back to Kate, add some data for Kate. So see, our code must display information about both students, like technically about the all 3 students. So that's why what I will recommend to do is to do this kind of set text. Does it work or not? Yeah, okay. See, the display information is not exist here. Why? Again, because our JText area display information behind of our button add. Okay, so that's why I copy this part, come here, and create the data right here. JText area display information. So, and that part I will need to delete. Okay, so now our display information will become a global variable. So if I place dot here, so now the set text is acceptable. So, but what text do I want to insert here? So here I will recommend us to make a function. Let's call this function get student information. So that student's information I will need to get from our class. So from the classes what we created. So and that may cause some issues. So okay. So get students information will be our function. So the function I supposed to place right here. So see, as long as I place that inside of the set text function, so it means that the output of my function, my get students function, get students information function must be the string. Okay, so here the function will be the public string get get students information. Okay, so here let's create a string out, empty one, and return out. So here there is no any error anymore. So, but how to create that particular string out? Okay, the first problem. I don't know how many students do I need to display right here, isn't it? So one student, two students, or three students, because that will depend. Did I insert data for the first student, second students, and third student? See here, for the third students, there is no data. So that's why my application must understood, okay, here information for the student number 3 is not inserted yet. And that must be reflected somehow in our application. So actually, we try to mimic that particular logic before in our previous app by using the flag insert data. Okay, so what we can do? So why did we use that particular flag? Again, because here there is some kind of logic duality. So if I insert data into the class, so my program must do something like something certain. So if I did not insert data into the class, my program must do something else. So that's why better to use that particular flag insert data and place it here. So in our application, so we use that concept in order to understand whenever I must insert data to the class or I must update the class. Okay, so that's why here we had if not here. So if my inserted flag from the selected index is false, so I is supposed to insert data. Okay, so here, so my flag is false. So false means that I did not insert any data. See, as default, they all false. So it means that there is no any data inserted to the classes. So that's why here, if there is no that data, so I will have to create the object of the class student array in the position selected item. Okay, so and here, if I will process else, so here means that flag equal true. So in here, so that means that I must process like modify student information. So in the class student selected item. So that's what we will do next. So but here, so what should happen? So once that I insert data into the class, so here, so the flag insert must become true. So if I already create that particular object, I will not create it again because here I will check that particular flag. So that's why my application knows that here I display information about the like all data, class activity, and the activity average. But if I come back to the students 3, so here there is no that data. So and it display only general information about the student book, and activity data is not given. So that's what we will also insert right here. So, but now the flag insert telling us which data, like the data about what students we already insert into our application and what data we did not insert. Okay, so that's why this flag insert we can use here as well. So here I can make a for loop. So integer I equals 0, I less than 3, I plus plus, close. So in here check if like flag insert in the position I is true. Okay, so that means flag I is true. So if this flag is true, so here I inserted data of my students into the application, and now I can display that particular information because that data is already exists. See here, if I will go here, so that data is given, is calculated. So I have it, so, and I can process. So here will be the out plus, okay, and the first what I need to display is number. So the next will be I plus 1. So here that's supposed to be first, second, or some other students. Plus, okay, next will be 2 dot space plus. So see, next will be our student name. So that's why I will need to call the students array, like students array dot stop, index will be I dot name. So this is the string, so that's why I will see John. Okay, so here comma dot students array position I dot family name. Okay, and let's see. So as long as we are using the function get students information, and that information must be displayed. So here in the screen, let's check whenever it is working or not. Okay, so here gate 1, let's insert some data. Okay, and here see we start seeing the John Rem. So that's what we want. So we want to insert that particular data here in the text array. So and the next what we need to insert here will be the student. Okay, so here space bracket plus students array in the position I. So here will be his identification code plus okay, bracket space comma space. So here will be the class activities space bracket. So and here I supposed to display that 10, 20, 30. This is our what students array position I dot okay, and here I need to get data from my dot class activities. So the class activities array. So in the position 0, I will have number 10. Okay, so after that, I want to display comma space plus. So students array position I dot class activity. So that should be the second number. So the second number located in the class activity in the position 1. So plus comma bracket. So we display this 20. So now I need to display 30. Plus students activity position. Okay, the students array position I dot class activities. So here that should be the position 2. So position 0, 1, 2 of the class activities. This is the numbers 10, 20, 30. Okay, so that is done. So and the next. So what I need to present. So here will be, see, I need to close the bracket, comma space, and average. Average, two dots, space, and here I supposed to display our average. So that will be our like students array position I dot, and here this is our average activity. Okay, so that should be enough. Let's try. Does it work or not? So come here, student John, insert the number, add. Okay, now we can see that John ran, class activities 10, 20, 30, average 20, and so on. Okay, now let's try to go for the second student. Okay, and here we start seeing the problem. See, when we move from students to student, so now the data in the text widgets related to the class activities 1, 2, 3, and average still belong to the student 1. So, and that particular drawback we must fix. So, and here that is happen when we change data here. Okay, so technically here I also need to check whenever my item is already processed in my code or not. See, when I change data here, it display all data, But here it's display data only for the student's name, student's family name, and the student's ID. It doesn't display information about the activities. Why? Because that activities was not inserted yet. So in that particular properties, we will have to implement here. But again, like we already know how to do that because we do have a flag insert data, so which telling us whenever this particular item has been like inserted to our application or not. So if the item is false, so it means that the item was not inserted yet. So is false. Okay, so student information is not inserted yet. So, and for that means that I will display only that particular ID, student's name, family name, his identification code. And here the important part, I need to empty that particular areas. So here is activity 1 field. come back here. So I add activity field here, set text, and here I'm supposed to place empty, because if the data was inserted for another student, so I'm supposed to delete the data from here. See, I want to insert information about the cave, but that data 10, 20, 30, that was for the student John, average as well. So, but if I will process this, so instead I will see empty areas, and that is makes our application ready to insert the data into the application. Okay, and there is one more part. What I need to add here is the average activity part, which is the average activity field. Just copy that data and place it here. Set text empty. Okay, so now let's say what will happen. Okay, so John 10, 20, 30, and modify. So now we can see that particular data. So change to Kate. Okay, so now the situation is the same as we had here. So if I will change to Bob, same as it's supposed to be. So, but see what will happen if I will come back to John. So it doesn't work. So why? Because this flag now is true. So it means that in order to do everything correctly, so here I'm supposed to press else. So in here that will be the flag is true. So it's and this data is inserted. So if the data is inserted, so I supposed to do this. Okay, I will just copy that particular data. So here I will display name, like student's name. So, but instead, as long as the information about that particular student is already inserted, see, the information is inserted, means that I do have an item in our student array, like student array, position selected item dot name. So if data is inserted into my class, so I can use that data from my class. See, the students array in the selected item that can be either 0, 1, or 2. So see here, I want to go back to the John. So it means that selected item 0. So here I want to see John Rem, but that John now is the part of the class student array in the position 0 dot name. So here, if the selected item equals 0, then so this is John. So and the same I will do here. So if I want to display the family name, I can call my class and here display the family name. So if I want to display the identification code, dot identification code. So and here if I want to display the activity for the class 1, see that activity. So that activity is already given. It is inside of our class. So that's why I can get it. So dot. So this is our class activity, position 0. So again, it doesn't work because we need to process string value of integer, close the bracket. Okay, and that particular part I will need to process here for the second class activity. So, but here instead of 0, I supposed to place 1. So that will be the second number in my class activities. So, and here will be the number 2. Okay, and for the average, so here I supposed to call average activity. Okay, so now let's check. So here is our student John. Insert data 10, 20, 30, add modify. So here I start seeing that particular data. Okay, now go to the Kate. So here we cannot see that particular data anymore because there is no the class activities inserted for the Kate. So, but here if I will move back to the John, so now I start seeing that particular data. Again, why does it happen? Because of this part. So if data is inserted, we will display the inserted data and calculated data. So if data is not inserted, so we will just display data from the string array, student's name, family name, and student's identification code. So the data what was displayed right here. Okay, so now let's go next, like Kate Kim. Let's insert some data for the student Kate. Add modify. Okay, and we start seeing here the problem. See, it doesn't display right. Why? Because we did not move it into the new line. So the problem is here. So when we call the array out, so sometimes we must have 2 lines or 3 lines, but in our code, everything will be displayed into 1 line. Okay, so the solution is very simple. So here I just need to add, like, go to a new line. So, and as default, that solves the problem. Okay, so here, John, 10, 20, 30, add modify, go to Kate, 50, 60, 20, add modify. Okay, now we start seeing the Kate. So if I will go back to the students 2, students 3 Bob, so there is no data. For Kate, I have data. For John, I have data. So it works at least for 2 students. So the next what we will need to do is the modification. So see how does it work here. So I will insert some data for the last student. So assume that I want to modify this 10. So I should go to the student John. Okay, so here for the number 20, like let's change the 20 to 50. So you see, it's changed. So the number and the average. So here, if I will go to the John, we'll change to 50. So nothing changed. So why? Because that particular like modification part is not implemented in our code. Okay, so here, see, we actually already made that particular part where we're supposed to modify our items. So, but we did not do anything with that. Okay, for that we will need to come back to our student class and see here where is there are a few functions. So what we are using in order to like change data. So we did it last class. So we can set up new name, we can set up new family name, new identification code, and the new class activities. So those functions, they exist in our application. So we can use them in the similar manner. So how it will looks like. Well, for example, I want to set up a new name. So technically I will never change name of students, but what if I need to change? I made a mistake when I just typed the name and that was just typo. So if the program will not allow to fix the typo, that is the very bad program. So here, how to get access to the name of our student. easy. As long as that object is already designed, like students array. So here will be the selected item. Okay, dot. Okay, now in order to get name, I supposed to press name. But now I don't want to get name. I want to change name, isn't it? Okay, so that's why here I can use the function set new name. So set new name, this is the inbuilt function what we are using in order to set up a new name. So where is my new name? So that's what I will read from my name widget, text widget. Okay, so that's why here I will just place student name. Okay, so for the same, I can do the same for the set new family name. So here will be the family name. So here set new identification code, and here will be the code what I just reading from here. Okay, and here the most interesting part will be so dot set new class activities. So the new class activities, that is my array activities. So if I change something here, so those changes will be inside of this array activities, because it is again taken from my widgets class 1 activity, 2 and 3. So this is the function which will, again, so this is our students, so here this is our function. So that will calculate, like that will insert the new activities into the class activities here and recalculate the average. Okay, so we calculate that. So technically after calling the function get class activities, we calculate the average. So, and that is done. So the problem is that even if we process that particular part, so the data, okay, see, we did this, let's run code and see how does it work. So here, like, take John, 20, 30, okay, get Kate, 50, 60, 40. Okay, now come back to John. Here I want to change to 50. See what's happened. So that 50 is modified, but I cannot see the average value, and here is nothing changed. Again, why? Because we modified the data inside of our class, but we did not update our students' information, and we did not update the average activity. So in order to update the average activity, I supposed to use this line. So the new average value will be calculated, and now we will display that particular average value here. So, and at the same time, like I can display information. So see, the information inside of the class will be changed. So that's why if I will call get students information function, so which is actually taking the data from all of our objects of the like, classes students, like students array object, like we do have 3 students inside of that object. All data about them will be displayed in the screen. Okay, and now if I will run, so student John, 20, 30, add students Kate, 50, 60, 20, students Bob, 10, 15, 8. Okay, so the old data is given. So coming back to John and change that one to 50. So now we can see the data is changing. So go to the Kate. Let's change this to 10. Data is changing. So Bob. So this one, 25. Okay, so now, so the all necessary data about our students is modified. So, and actually there is only one extra issue what we did not solve is that particular log. So every time, let me run it. See, in the beginning, information like log information must be something like student 1, like few lines, like students 2, student 3, there is no data about the students 1, 2, 3. So in fact, I don't really need that log anymore because the old data is displayed in my screen. But as long as we do have that particular log path, so here I supposed to do it. See, here I do have log for the line 1, line 2, and line 3. So the problem is that as long as in our code, so now the all students, they are unified, the all like the classes for the students, they are unified together into the one set. So will be the problem of using that log line. So that's why what I will recommend to do is to make an array of the like array string. So where I will place my students. Okay, so here will be the student 2 and student 3. Okay, now now I need to call that like log line. Yeah, so what I can do, I can just copy it from here. See, this is the code what we designed last class. So I can just simply copy it and place it in our application. So like that code I will launch when application is started. Okay, so here instead of the line 1, so I will call like line 1 in the position 0. So in order to call the second line, that will be line like log line in the position 1. So here the log line in the position 2. So we are using XML in order to present like our data correctly. So now let's see what will happen. Okay, so here is that students. So now every time when I enter the data to student, okay, so here remember I supposed to place like students 1 ok, so means that so we insert data to the student 1. See here this okay is coming. So yeah, let's design that as well. Okay, so I need this line. Okay, and here when we create an object of the class student, so like we are displaying the data. So in here I supposed to update log like this. The problem is that here I supposed to change so the information inside of my log line. Okay, so here will be the instead of 0 will be the selected item. So and what will be the inside? So here that's supposed to be so this data like student number. Okay, after that I need to display what number. So the number is a selected item. plus 1 plus, so here will be like dot minus, okay, minus. Yeah, that's all. Okay, so here, so add data for the first student, 10, 25, 10, insert. So here we start seeing, okay. So let's do it for the second student. Okay, and for the student number 3. Okay, so now it is identical to our reference. So that's all for today application. So today we discussed quite important issue related to the general object-oriented programming that's called the class arrays. So, and here is a good example of using like complex combination of different items in terms of the object-oriented languages. And so here by using that particular class properly, using the array of the objects of the class objects, so we can design pretty interesting approaches, so which can simplify our source code. So a few words about the simplification. Actually, in that particular design, the code is much more reliable compared to what we had in the previous code. So remember, in the previous code, like we had to use radio button. So in the radio button, switching between like class student 1 into the class student 2 and class student 3. So which is really ridiculous. So that way is definitely better. Okay. So but anyway, so those particular the way of using the classes, both of them exist now. So and depends on the situation, we can use either first way or the second way. So today we discuss the class arrays. So that's all for today. Good luck. Carefully implement that application.